Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome to another first impression video for a Civilization 6 Gathering Storm civilization. We're going to be taking a look at the brand newly announced civilization, the Maori, that looks a lot like the Polynesian civilization from Civilization 5, but with some very, very unique and very cool changes, and I think it very much fits the vibe of the Maori civilization. So I'm really excited to get into this, so let's get going.
Kupe leads the Maori in Civilization 6 Gathering Storm.
I'm going to stop here for a second because I got to say this guy has probably the best personality of any of the civilization leaders we've seen so far. This guy is just full of fun, but also just fierce enough that you're like, if I cross this guy, I'm in a lot of trouble. So I think I think they did a really good job with getting a really, really awesome personality on this guy.
According to Maori legend, the navigator Kupe sailed from Hawaii to the undiscovered land that would become New Zealand, and remains a figure in many Maori myths still shared today. Kupe's leader ability is called Kupe's Voyage. The initial Maori units begin the game in the ocean, and receive science and culture each turn before settling.
Okay, so obviously this is a huge departure from any other civilization in the game. Starting in the middle of the ocean, you obviously have your warrior and you have your settler here. Your settler looks like he has, are we on turn number? Yeah, we're advanced a little bit in the game. So I was trying to decide if this was all one turn, but it looks like this is actually separate turns here. But you do have, good movement here. I'm guessing you already have ocean voyaging because he's obviously not just on coastal lands here. And this is very much kind of fits the vibe of like maybe if you ever play colonization, where you're trying to found and trying to discover the new world, and you just have a ship and you go look around for the right spot, and then you drop off all your troops and your settlers and things like that. And so in this case, it's kind of got that vibe of let me go navigate around, search around a little bit, and discover where I want to pop my first city. The fact that you're getting culture and science each turn while you're in this kind of transit, kind of voyager mode, is definitely going to help you stay, competitive and not give you a penalty for staying, on your ship a little bit longer or moving around a little bit longer before you find the plot of land that you do want to settle on. So that's a good move. And I think we're actually going to see another bonus here in a second that is also going to incentivize you to make sure you're maximizing your kind of your search potential and finding the right spot.
When you settle your first city, you receive a free builder and extra population. The palace also receives additional housing and amenities.
All right, so you're going to have extra population, extra housing, extra amenities, and a builder, all the while getting culture and science while you're looking around. I mean, so they're really trying to take away all the penalties of this search that you're doing and really make sure that when you finally settle, not only do you have the best possible spot of land based on, what's around you, but you're also going to be able to kind of have a little bit of a catch-up mechanic. You're going to have that builder all ready to go. You're going to have extra amenities, extra housing, and that extra population, which is another key thing that you would have missed out on by not settling that first turn civ or first turn city. There's probably a sweet spot here, of if you go past 10 turns, 15 turns, whatever that sweet spot is, and obviously the speed of the game is going to be depending on that, possibly the difficulty as well. But there's probably a sweet spot of if you go past this, it's going to be less, diminishing returns, if you will. Maybe on the higher difficulties, you're going to want to settle quicker because then those advantages that you get are actually worth more. Like if you did still settle a first turn city for some reason, you found a good plot of land and you settled a first or second turn city, getting that builder right away and getting all those other bonuses, getting the extra pop, that's obviously way faster than you would have gotten in any other civilization. Now, if you decide to delay that a little bit to, let's say, it takes you 10 turns, let's say, to get a builder and an extra pop out normally, so that gives you 10 turns to look around for the right city spot. But in that case, instead of being a subpar city location, you found an optimal city location. And that's still going to also be a bonus. But I'm sure there's a sweet spot there of don't go past this many turns, or else you're just going to kind of be hurting yourself still, just like you would in any other civilization. But this is a really cool, very unique way to start the game.
The Maori's unique building is the marae. This replaces the amphitheater in the theater square. It provides culture and faith to all tiles in the city with a passable feature, such as floodplains.
All right, so it's going to provide faith and culture to all tiles with a passable feature, such as floodplains. Now, if we look at the screenshot, we can also see it looks like the rainforest and the forest and the rainforest tiles are also getting this extra culture and faith. The little tile over here just northwest of the cultural district is looking, or theater district, I should say, is it's got like pigs or something on it. What kind of feature is that? I'm not sure what that one is, but that's also got the culture and the faith. The mine to the right does not, and then the one up north of the city also does not. So I'm not exactly sure what they mean by passable feature. She looked it up. I was Googling. I was like, there's such a thing as passable, like natural wonders, the ones that you can walk through, you can't. To me, passable means you can walk through it. I'm not sure what it means in this case, because to me, the mine, obviously you can walk through a mine, but that's not a feature. So what about, like, what is a feature? So this one's a little unsure of, like, what exactly passable feature means. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments and tell me exactly what that is if they know for sure. But otherwise, let's put that aside. No matter how you look at it, you're getting a lot of extra faith and culture. A lot of your tiles are going to get a lot of extra faith and culture that is really going to be very valuable for multiple, victory types and stuff like that. You can use the faith for any of the great people. You can use the culture, obviously, to keep your civics going, which is also going to help with any of the victory types. Obviously, both of those can also point towards a religious or a culture victory as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff here just from this one, benefit that he's got right here.
And tourism after researching flight. The Maori's unique unit is the toa. This classical-era melee unit can construct a paw improvement on hills, which provides a defensive bonus and heals units if they end their turn on its tile.
All right, so you're going to have this this classical-era melee unit, and I'm not sure if it shows it here or if maybe it's a little bit later in one of the write-ups, but I don't think this is a replacement unit. I think this is just a new classical melee unit. So I don't know where it fits within anything else, with the swordsman and other stuff like that. Musketman later on. But this paw is like, at first, just from this glance, I was like, wait a minute, isn't this taking up one of my tiles that I might want to put an improvement on or something like that? And I guess it is, and it's probably replaceable and things like that. But what it shows you later in the video, and we'll get to that here in a second, but I'll go ahead and speak to it, is you can also place this on tiles that you don't own. You can place this anywhere. So effectively, instead of like hitting the fortify button, you hit this paw button, and it does fortify your units, but also kind of immediately gives them that benefit, but also heals them back up to full. So it's like a super fortify, and it just has a graphical like tile effect, but in the sense you can think of it as like a super fortify wherever they're at. Presumably they can't attack after putting this down, and they can't put this down after attacking. So, you have to pick, which just like you would if a fortify. So that's pretty cool. And kind of a unique way of giving them a really good, strong defensive, bonus that they can effectively carry with them. It's not tied to their continent or within their territory like some of the other civilizations. It's very much, you carry this with you, you plop it down, boom, there you go. And presumably you can plop this down as with your unit, your unique unit, and then maybe you can move an archer into it later. They can also get that healing bonus and things like that. So I don't think it's restricted to just this unit based on what they're telling us. It's very likely any of your units could then use that kind of, we'll call it a fort, that paw kind of defensive structure to gain that defensive advantage as well as that healing when they land there.
Toa also have the Haka War Dance ability, which weakens adjacent enemy units.
All right, so this Haka War Dance ability, I think it's very thematic. I think it's great. Very intimidating when you see a group of warriors doing this Haka, this type of dance, if you ever see that. I would say that this really puts them in the same category as the elephants that India has, where you have this defensive debuff that you apply to units around you. So similar to the elephant, although the elephant does come later, so it has a little bit more longevity later in the game. This one's a classical era unit, so it's relatively weak in some sense. Maybe we're showing it 40 strength, which is good, but it's probably going to die away a little bit quicker than the elephant will. But you could carry this unit with you even later into the game to kind of maybe sit this unit next to some more advanced units so that your other units can get a better attack against them. They got a debuff already. And then obviously you protect this unit and keep it away. So there might be a reason to keep one or two of these units around in your army well past their actual normal age, just to kind of keep carrying this debuff around as well.
The Maori's unique ability is mana. They start with sailing and shipbuilding, and embarked units receive additional strength and movement.
All right, we're going to go ahead and back it up here on this screen real quick. And we're going to see that there's a lot of information here. I mean, this civilization has a lot going on. And I think to really, truly understand the civilization, you're going to kind of want to take each one of these bonuses kind of one at a time and really kind of work your way through them and say, okay, what does this mean to my settle? What does this mean to my builds? What does this mean to my army? Things like that. Mana is the one that she just referenced, where you begin the game with sailing and shipbuilding. So again, that kind of goes back to that whole, this is how they're able to kind of go across the oceans and things like that. That's 2 technologies. They're beginning the game with 2 free technologies. This is huge for any game, but like even on a deity level game where your other civilizations that you're going against already have a tech advantage, a settle advantage, and things like that. If you can settle quickly, you get 2 free technologies. You're kind of getting a similar bonus to some of the deity AIs. So this is going to be a really, really strong civilization in that regard. Let's see here. And the ability to enter ocean tiles. Okay, yep, we already saw that. Embarked units gain +5 combat strength and +2 movement. That's a pretty big deal. Being able to move around quickly, obviously, this is going to help your first settle a lot. But even later in the game, you're going to be able to kind of, attack from the seas with your melee units, or be able to get your armies across the seas quicker and things like that. So those are very significant bonuses as well. Unimproved woods and rainforests have +1 production, becoming +2 with conservation civic is locked. And then fishing boats provide +1 food. And I think she's going to talk a little bit about this here in a moment as well. But we'll speak about here. I mean, the good thing about this is, it says unimproved woods. So you're going to have to hold off on the lumber mills, maybe to later in the game when they're more worthwhile, or maybe just skip them altogether. But also rainforest here as well. The good thing about this here is that this is kind of ties into the whole Gathering Storm thing of, thematic element of maybe you don't want to clear out all your woods and your rainforest. You don't want to chop them down to rush build things. You want to keep them around with some of your other civilizations, and this guy gets a bonus if you do that. This also gives you an advantage if you have a lot of rainforest. Go build a Chichen Itza. That's one wonder that a lot of times you're like, yeah, I can build it, but what if I wanted to shut down all my rainforests, anyway, you're like, what do I do with it? Well, this guy's going to get an additional bonus to keeping those rainforests around. Additionally, you're going to be able to possibly put a zoo down and be able to get some of that extra science as well, because you're going to be keeping more of these rainforests and things down. What else we got here? +1 food and a culture bomb on adjacent tiles with the fishing boats. Culture bombs are always great. Who can go wrong with a culture bomb? And getting the additional food from those is going to help you grow stronger. So he's going to get production, he's getting food, he's getting culture, he's getting science, he's getting faith. I guess the science is more tied to before he settles, but he's getting the culture and the faith from his Maori building. So he's getting a lot of bonuses to a lot of the tiles around him that's really going to help carry him through the game. So anything else here that I wanted to speak to? Great riders cannot be earned. I don't think she speaks about that in the video. Great riders cannot be earned. At all? That is wild to think about. It's okay, but that's an entire... I wonder if they could be just straight up bought. Maybe you just can't earn points toward them, but you can just flat out buy one if you needed to. Or what if wow, I don't know if I understand how that's a little bit of a negative. If you're going to go for a culture victory, sure, you can still get the artists, you can still get the archaeologists, you can still get the musicians and other forms of tourism. And obviously your Maori building is going to give you tourism from a lot of your tiles as well. You're going to be coastal, so you're going to be able to get some of the seaside resorts, things like that. So there are other ways to get culture and tourism and things of that nature to go for a culture victory. So I'm not saying culture is suddenly just against him, but great riders cannot be earned. That's a very hard no. That's interesting. Again, I don't think she speaks to that in the video. Again, here's a little bit more about the Toa. Again, we can see here that it does not specifically call out that it's a replacement unit. It's just a classical era melee unit. So that's going to be interesting to see that mixed in with some of the other units that you have. I don't see anything else here jumping out at me that we need to speak about. Oh, and then right down here, we does say the Moray does not... It costs no maintenance, but it has no great work slots, which normally I think it would have a great work of writing slot. Well, if you can't earn great works or great writers, then you don't have any usage for your Moray to have a great writing slot. So some interesting details, again, that they don't really go into in the video. So it's going to lead to some interesting strategy discussions. But let's get back to the video.
Woods and rainforests provide additional production, and fishing boats additional food. Fishing boats also acquire surrounding available tiles when completed. As the Maori, the world is your oyster, and you will thrive with its blessings. Use your first turns to scout for a prime coastal location for your capital city, with plenty of woods, rainforests, and ocean resources. A series of paw fortresses will be your key to a strong defense, allowing you to embark on the victory campaign of your choosing without fear of conquest from another civilization.
Now here we can see that they are popping down their paws in neutral territory. I think I might have said that they can pop them down in anywhere. I don't know that they could pop them down in somebody else's territory. That would make very little sense to me. I think that would, you'd be able to overwrite some of their locations of where they want to put down improvements, which that doesn't make sense. So, but at least you can put them down in neutral territory, which is something that, you might not normally be able to do with other improvements, or if this is even called an improvement. I guess it is a tile improvement of sorts. But yeah, being able to advance against your enemy, set up, right around his borders, plop down all those paws, and then just be able to be defensive while you're trying to take the attack to him. Or maybe you're just defending your own territory against his attack in the first place. So a couple different ways you can use those, again, offensively or defensively, to really give yourselves an advantage, plus that negative debuff that the warriors give you against all the units around them. So some really cool synergy there. You being more defensive, them being less, strength. There's some cool stuff there that I think is going to be really helpful.
Will your empire flourish with the bounty of land and sea? How will you lead the Maori in Sid Meier's Civilization 6 Gathering Storm?
Again, here we are. I mean, this guy, his character is just so awesome. I love it. But I mean, this is gonna be that civilization that you just go find your Moana soundtrack and just play it while you play this game. Because I think there, obviously you can see a lot of that similarity there. But no, I mean, these are seafaring people. Even more so than the Polynesian guys were in Civilization 5. These guys literally start in the middle of the ocean, which is a very interesting concept. It's not a new concept necessarily, because again, we've seen that in colonization, but it's definitely new to civilization. And then being able to go across the ocean right away, being able to go faster across the waters and things like that. You're going to be able to settle a lot of islands around you. Find you an island map. You're going to be able to settle all of these islands before anybody can even get there. Find the best locations, get the most benefit from those. Take advantage of the natural resources without necessarily, chopping them down or anything like that. Keep them raw for a while longer. Lots of fishing boats and stuff like that. It's going to give you a huge advantage. You're going to have growth, lots of growth potential, lots of production from your rainforest and your forests and stuff like that. Again, going back to the culture and the faith. I mean, he literally gets every resource except for science. And he gets a little bit of science before he settles his first city, but that's literally the only resource he doesn't just get just from the land, so to speak. So maybe a science victory is not necessarily in his cards, but a lot of times science victory comes down to production, and he's going to have some production value there. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting civilization. I think there's a lot of potential victory types that he can go for. It's going to be a fun civilization. One of the biggest negatives about settling either on a smaller landmass or anything like that is that you're so tied to like those coastal land areas, and you can never really. It's like I have to wait so long before I can go across the ocean. And these guys are going to be able to go across the ocean right away, which is going to really open up a lot of like fun, kind of spread out mechanics with your cities and things like that. So I think this is going to be fun. It's going to be great. And again, I love seeing new mechanics. The only thing I would say is that there's not really any direct tie-ins to any of the Gathering Storm, like specific mechanics like, floodplains overflowing. Although, I mean, he's going to be able to get some bonus from floodplains. So there's a little bit of that, but whereas we saw with Hungary, he gets something specifically from geothermal, which is a new, feature there. This guy doesn't really have anything specifically tied into any of that type of stuff. But I think he's still going to be playing very, very well in this expansion. I think he fits really well, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I do appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments or you disagreed or agreed with anything, please leave some comments below. Please like this video if you like these, so I can continue to kind of know that this is the right thing to keep doing. And again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully next week for yet another new civilization. Thank you and goodbye.